where did I leave off? I just bought a house, right? Got the house, all excited. Found a company that would finance me. It was in my name. Again, it was 14%, so not the greatest rate, but now we have a house. Okay, me and my 5, we have a house. That's great. We don't have to fill out a rental agreement. We don't have to go and move from place to place because of whatever reason, because this is mine. We can stay as long as we need to. Now the goal is to get it fixed up. Why do we want to get it fixed up? Bees, we have fleas, we have mice, and we have ice. And I call it the bees, fleas, mice, and ice story. Beginning, when we first moved in, the person that moved out had moved out basically with a suitcase of stuff, right? Maybe in another box. And they leave. That's how it happened. It was an elderly woman, and she was living there, and her family was taking her to live with them. Everything else stayed. So there was furniture, there were dishes, there was cat food, because she had cats. The children had a lot of fun going through all the stuff. They've got stories about going through all the stuff in the shed. There were a lot of fishing poles and a lot of fishing gear, which was neat, because down in that area, that was one of the really good fishing spots. And we had friends who would come from about 2 hours away just to fish in that spot. And they would drive down. It was Miss Nancy and her husband, and they would come and go fishing. And I told them that they could park at my house and go fishing on the beach, because it's a private beach, and you had to be an owner in order to fish there. So I saw him on the beach one time, and I talked to him, and I said, well, if you want to come down and go fishing, you can always park at my house. And so that's how we became friends. Well, as it turned out, they used to have meetings, and they would come and bring food and cook with us on the beach, or the kids went out fishing with them, and she would always bring treats and put them in the freezer, and we'd always know when Miss Nancy had come by, because they'd tell me, Mom, Miss Nancy came by. Danishes, I think, but it was something that they would have at their monthly meeting, and any extras she would always bring and put them in my freezer. She knew that I was a struggling single mom with 5 kids, and that I was helping them, and they were helping me. It was a win-win. When we first moved in, like I said, there were dishes, there were everything, the furniture was there. Well, there were a lot of fleas too. So we had to get rid of the fleas. So we have to fumigate the house. One corner of the living room that I had put, that's where like extra blankets would go. So we had lots of blankets, and over in the corner, we would pile up the blankets in the living room. Well, and then after we were done praying, we would fold up the blankets and put them back in the pile. Well, one time when we were praying, I noticed that there were bees coming when I would lift up from the blanket. I was like, oh my goodness, there's some bees under the blanket. So a friend of mine who was a exterminator, I called. His name was Juan, and we called Juan, and Juan came out to the house. So he fumigated the house to get rid of the bees. Well, the bees came back. So he came back, and it's one night, it was starting to get cold, and it was really warm in the house, but it was very cold outside. And so I noticed that the bees were coming through the paneling in the wall. And I was like, there are a lot of bees coming in here, and I guess because of the cold, they were trying to get in where it was warm. That's what I thought anyway. So they're coming into the house, and so I called Juan the next day, and I was like, Juan, there's a lot of bees coming in. He said, okay, Jackie, I'm gonna come out, because this sounds unusual. So while I'm at work, I get a phone call, and he tells us that you've got to come down here and see this. And so we go down there. He had pulled the paneling off the wall, and there was a ring of bee, like it was, I'm telling you, this is like the fish story, right? But really, it was it went from the top of the wall to the bottom of the wall, and then it was completely round. It was a huge bee hive, whatever, built in the wall. So, I mean, he took pictures of it. I don't think I have any pictures of it, but he was like, I've never seen one this big. So, yeah, so that's the bees. So we had fleas, bees, and mice. Okay, so and the fleas have been taken care of. And I was in a play. And prior to going to the play, there were some cats, and I remember there was this black cat, and his name, I called him Fluffy because he was a big ball of black fluff. And I was just outside talking to him, and I was like, look, I need a cat. There's mice in the house. I hear them crawling around at night. So can you send me one of your friends? I know this is crazy. Can you send me one of your friends? I want him to be a good hunter, and I'll give him room and board, and don't want fleas, and he has to be like to snuggle and cuddle because I've got 5 kids and he's got to be good with kids. So I go to the play, and by the time the play is over and I came home, and there was a cat on the porch, and I walked over to him, I thought, and I said, hi there, did Fluffy send you? and that was the beginning of Maya. Maya was our cat for many years. Maya took care of the mice. So we've got fleas taken care of, bees taken care of, the mice, and now we've been in the house for a while. The pipes freeze, bottom line. When it gets cold, pipes freeze. Well, nothing was even draining. We weren't getting any water in. The house, we couldn't live in it. It was too cold. We had to move out. So we moved to the rec center. I had just joined the Navy Reserve. It was after 9/11, and I wanted to go back in the military. I was in the Army before. I wanted to join the reserves. And I know that sounds crazy, but again, dare to do different. What single parent of 5 children wants to go into the military? Right? Dare to do different. Sometimes you do different, and it works out. That you could rent, and in the wintertime you could rent them by the month. And since I was in the Navy now, it was at the Navy Rec Center, I was able to rent those from month to month, and we went from shack to chalet, because shortly after this, the next story is, and then came Isabel. Isabel hit the Maryland, Virginia area really, really hard. So I'm saying like a lot. So hit like, tell a friend, subscribe, all that stuff. And we'll see you next time for And Then Came Isabel. Thank you very much for watching. Bye.